Hey everyone, welcome to the number two Septic podcast. Today we're really honored to have David Meints with us. Joining us, he's from Arkansas of Meinco Wastewater Systems. So excited to have you on today, David. Can you just tell us a little bit about you, your business, where you're from, and what you do so everyone just is familiar with you?
Sure. Uh, like Ashley said, my name is David Meints. I own a wastewater business here in Arkansas. We've been in business since 1996. Uh, we design, install, and service on-site wastewater systems around the state. We've got, I think there's 26 people on payroll currently. So we are, I guess, in the business. And I've been doing it for more than 30 years now, so I accepted the podcast because you had some good questions, and I might have been encouraged when I first started out if somebody maybe had shared some of the things that they might be getting into, getting
Yeah,
in the on-site business.
yeah. I love that perspective, being able to hand down some of the information and the hard lessons you wish someone had been able to tell you in the beginning.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's great. So tell us how you got started in the septic business, kind of what brought you to it. And I also see that your wife, Renee, also
Mhm.
has just a handful of different designer and other licenses. And so she's also in the business. So kind of tell us the backstory, how you got started, how your wife got started together, and what that
Yep.
looked like 30 years ago.
Sure. So uh, I was in my 20s, probably 24, 25, and I was an industrial engineer for a company in northeast Arkansas, Darling Store Fixtures, and we were doing time studies and bill of materials, and I don't know, it was what I went to school for. It was totally fine, but it was a temp to hire job, and um, I didn't really want to move my wife and three kids to northeast Arkansas without a for real job.
Yeah.
And one of the guys I was staying with, I needed a place to stay, and he invited me into his home. He said, if you don't mind the fact that I have a wife and four kids, all of them the same age as mine,
Oh,
um, you're welcome to stay with me. And he lived in a house uh, in the middle of a 40-acre rice paddy. It's in Lawrence County, and anyway, we drove to work together each day, and so probably a couple of weeks into working together, driving back and forth, he found out that I knew how to draw in AutoCAD. I had learned that in college.
hmm.
So he said, any chance you could help me with my little side hustle? He said, I do perk tests on the weekends, and my drawings sure would look better if you could help me sketch them. And he said, we'll just call that how you earn your keep for staying with me. I
Yeah.
was fine with that. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to it. It was a part-time revenue stream for Lynn. He used it as birthday money and Christmas money and stuff like
Hmm.
that. He didn't. I'm not saying he didn't treat it like a business, but he was just. It's all whatever he could do on a Friday and Saturday was all he took on.
Hmm.
And I helped him for I don't know. I helped him for a year, and then I got hired. And of course, I moved my family up, and I asked him about, hey, what do you think about me getting my license to be a designated representative? And he goes, oh no, we've got too many of them. No, I'm not going to help you, which was fine. But that job went away, and I moved back to Central Arkansas, and I took a new job as a sales engineer. But I still had that what I had learned, what Lynn had taught me,
Hmm.
and he anyway he taught me that. And then I called my first week on my brand new job during lunch break. I called the health department and asked them if they would let me come down and test for that license. And they said, "How fast can you be down here? Because we
Wow.
don't have enough." So
Wow.
off I went and tested and got licensed. And there was my very first septic system to design was for my mother and father-in-law. They built a new home, and so they were my guinea pig, and
Hmm.
I got my feet wet there. Um, I did that for 2 or 3 years, to be honest, while I kept my day job, and I did that on the weekends, which was good money.
Yeah.
Same thing that Lynn did: birthday money, Christmas money, buying stuff for me. And then one day I was working and my wife called and she said, how did work's not going so well for her? She said she's kind of, well, I really don't go into the details, but she wanted to know if she could come home. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, absolutely. And just help me, if you can, just help me answer the phone. Because it rings all the time with
Wow.
some people wanting us to come
Mm-hmm.
help them with their septic system design. So she came home, and that's how she jumped in to the business. And she did that for 3 years and would load my schedule up on Friday when I got off work at noon. We would work Friday at noon till Sunday closing business
Wow.
every week. She
So to be
made,
young again and have all that energy, right?
yeah. So she made, she, she kept the revenue. She reported the taxes. So like she was running the business. I was just the
Mm.
helper. And she made more than me for those 3 years in a row. And my day job got to the point where I had to make a decision one day. I was like, okay, I had this big 4x8 board in my office with I had all the projects that I had to do at work, and then I had all the projects at home with the side hustle, if you want to call it that. And the right side of the board was totally full, and the left side of the board didn't have anything on it. So
Wow.
I gave my notice and came home, which was a struggle because my not really a struggle for me. I felt like there was work to do, but no one in my family had ever I don't have any entrepreneurs in my family.
Yeah.
Not any, that's not the right word, but mom and dad could not fathom that I quit my job,
Right.
to go to work for a perk test for $250 a job. So, but it did. And the
Yeah.
surprising thing happened there once the developers and the builders found out that I was free more than just Friday afternoon. The work just poured in. And
Wow.
I remember planning for the worst. Let's see, worst is not that. Planning my budgets and how to make the house payment, the car payments all on the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot I should probably have also planned what if you're successful? So
Yeah.
it, it took me it took me a little bit to get on the horse. And
Yeah.
it's been, nonstop since. And that was 30
Yeah.
years ago.
How long was it between the time when you left your job till the side hustle really picked up and became replaced your income? Was that
Was
almost immediately that happened, or did it take a few months?
I'd say that let's see, that was 1996, got my license and I quit my job in 1998. So that was 3 years. So it took 3 years to get that figured out
Mm.
or have enough in the queue to feel like I could go out and be okay. And
Yeah.
there was a time there, I don't know if anybody been in business back in, I think it was 2008.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know. The economy went to crap and
it did.
it hit our business pretty hard. And so Renee and I, one of us had to go back to work. And
Wow.
she said, she said she'd go back to work and I stayed on keeping the business going.
Hmm.
And that's when she got her stint working at ADEQ and ADH and had all those fun times working for the state agencies.
Wow. So you guys really have gone through kind of the fire together, the ups and the downs as a married couple, trying to figure out the business side of it. I know there's a lot of other couples that also juggle the same thing. So
Mhm.
my husband and I also work together. So just selfishly, I just would love to hear any advice you have for married couples who are also working together in the business and just how you manage the day to day. How do you
Yeah.
manage it when things aren't going well? Just any advice you have would be great.
Yep. Uh, you're right.
It's a loaded question.
When you when you're married to the same person that you work with every day,
Mhm.
I think we've been married 36 years this past June. So I guess her and I have figured it out.
Yeah.
Uh, there's probably times when I put more time than I should into the business and not enough time into my
Mm.
partner.
Yeah.
But I've recognized that in the last 10 years, and I do my best to carve out time away from work because I guess that would be my first piece of advice in
Mm.
today's thing is like, the public is unrelenting. They do not care.
Mhm.
They will consume your life. They just
Yeah.
want the problem solved. And that used to run me. And I realize that they'll still be there Monday. They don't necessarily need the call returned on a Saturday. Um, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Yeah.
I, I was just, you just race into the coffin if you try and satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that anymore. Or I'd like to have some kind of quality of life here on the last half of my endeavor. So yeah, just know when to say when about
Yeah.
work is good. And working with my wife, I mean, her name's Renee. Renee is just, we can read each other and we don't have to really talk in the field. She knows what I do, what I well, and I know what she does well. And
Hmm.
yeah, we complement each other.
That's great. So do you guys have separate pieces that you take over in the business that you each kind of have your own area, and that's probably really helped, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's see, I'm not supposed to touch any of the dispatching software or any of that because I want to get it over with. I want to put all the right information in. And accounting has fussed at me about entering invoices and stuff. So I try to stay away from
Yeah.
the day-to-day software stuff. I'm more of the sit back and be the dreamer and
Mm,
figure out how to get the things going. She knows how to schedule appropriately and when to say no. And she doesn't really like being a sounding board. She corrected me on that a while back. She's like, quit using me as a sounding board. If you want to ask me what my opinion is, I'll help you, but don't just talk at me. So
hmm.
she's my second opinion. Or let's say I'm a go, like, let's do this. Yes, I can tell you she's always going to be a no.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a yes, she's going to be a no and a no. And on the third time, she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've not won the argument, but just put enough thought into it that she knows I'm not just going down the wrong path. So
Yeah. Like you're the gas pedal in the business, and she makes sure that you don't drive off the cliff,
true
basically.
statement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I think in either it is business partnerships or if it's just a marriage and it's still a business partnership, I do think that's really common to have that one personality that's sort of the dreamer, the big picture, the we can do it person, and then you have that also sort of makes a mess, and then you have the detail oriented person who also thinks about okay, how are we actually going to make that happen? Is that doable? Is that even possible? You know, kind
Hmm.
of that risk analysis personality. And I think they're both needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Lord help us if we were both dreamers. Oosh. And then, nothing would happen if we were always nervous about everything. So,
Yeah. So in your business, you do the designing, the installation, maintenance, and repairs, but no pumping. Is that about right for what you guys do?
hmm,
Yeah.
yep.
So do you have other businesses you partner with to do the pumping? Have you ever thought about doing the pumping, or you're really happy not doing any of that waste removal part of it?
Well, if I was 10 years younger, uh, if I had enough time to recover from the investment,
Yeah.
I would have my own pump trucks. I would have my own wastewater facility and I'd clean up the water and put it back in the ground because we have some
Yeah.
of the biggest challenges we have now with hiring pumpers. We have plenty of pumpers that will help us. I appreciate them, but their challenge is where to take the waste.
Mm,
Um, and that's just going to get harder and harder as we go forward. So I guess if there's a niche that needs to be filled, at least here in Arkansas, is how to collect the waste because
mm-hmm,
50% of Arkansas is rural. That means they have a septic tank or are tied to a
mm-hmm.
wastewater treatment plant. Um, where do you put it? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
nope, we didn't get into it. We spend $500,000 a year on pumping fees. So you think probably should have got into it, but
But
I
at
guess,
this point, you're thinking, leave well enough alone.
yeah, I guess as Renee put it, she said, you're too chicken. Cause if you go and hire, if you go and buy a big pump truck and a small pump truck, and you're going to need at least one more, that's three. At some point, you're going to have to drive it and go pump a tank.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. No matter,
Yeah.
I'd have to hire 10 people just to have enough buffer between me and having to get behind that truck. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you familiar with John Jumino? I had him on the podcast. It just
uh-huh.
published this week. Yeah. He was talking all about vertically integrating the entire septic process. So very much what you're referring to, he's the man that did go ahead and do it and figured it out. He's got some really good solutions there. So if anyone's listening and they're like, maybe I do need to look into that, that's a really good
Yeah,
podcast.
John's a great guy. BBB Septic's a great company, and they when I work up there in Northwest Arkansas and I need help, they help me, and I help them when they need help. So,
That's
yeah,
great.
he took it on, and he's probably my same age or older. He's not worried about how old he is. He's just going to do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
John's
So
a
y'all
great
are
guy.
neighbors, sort of
Uh-huh.
different parts of the state, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, he's got me on a Zoom meeting next week with the developer. So we'll see what comes out
Okay.
of that.
That's great. I love hearing that. I love it when people in the industry can just help each other and, be a part of the friendly competition or the solution. I think it's really great to have those
Hmm.
connections. So, one of the things I read on your website was that you're really a strong presence in the industry. You go to the different trade shows, your strong presence in the community. So, talk to us a little bit about building your reputation within the industry and then also in the community. Obviously, you've been at it for 30 years. So, I'd love to know how that's helped your business,
Hmm.
investing in that rather than just kind of putting your blinders on and staying focused on the day to day, but looking at the bigger picture. How has that helped your business, and any tips in really becoming a bigger part of the community rather than just focusing in? Like, if there's anything specific activities that you do that you felt has been really helpful with that networking and connection.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up about the national organizations because that was the one thing that changed the direction of, let's see, it gave me confidence
Hmm.
early on. And I'm not going to knock our health department or our regulators for what they train or what they share with us,
Yeah.
but it is not enough, or is not enough. And I had a good friend. He's still in the business. He put me in my place when I first started to tell me that he'd been in business a lot longer than I had. So, tone it down. But he encouraged me to go to a trade show.
Hmm.
I believe it was the wet show, and it was in Nashville. That's going to age me because Lord knows how long it's been since they've had the wet show's been in Nashville. But I went, and my eyes were wide open. It was great. I learned so much. In fact, Renee and I would go back 10 years in a row to that show. And then we were introduced to Naura.
Hmm.
I went to some continuing ed with Knott. And the long story short, it's just, let's see, if you're new in the business, take the week off, go to the trade show. Some of the classes are going to be relevant, but I learned probably as much or more from talking to the person to the left and the right of me and or walking the booths and talking to the vendors
Yeah.
and actually sell the product. That put me in a different spot in the business.
Hmm.
And then, how many times can I go to a trade show? I mean, I've grown old with all these other folks that are at the trade show. And then I realized I need to send my new guys to the show. So
Hmm.
we started doing that. We take two or three of the most promising employees each
Hmm.
year and rotate them around the trade shows. I've got one guy. He's my service manager now. My main goal was to expose him to everything possible this year, no matter where the trade show was. So
Hmm.
it's good. It
That's
jumps
great.
their product knowledge instantly,
Yeah.
and that's what we need. We need to
Yeah.
know what we're talking about. So.
Hmm. And having that confidence is a really important part of doing your job, just really
Yep.
knowing it one side to the other. I think that makes a huge difference. And I love that you're starting to send your guys who or haven't been in it as long and also need that confidence boost. Can you kind of point back to any big jump you had operationally or maybe revenue wise, implementing some of the things that you learned at the trade shows?
Things operationally that changed the business?
Hmm.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, so we'll go way back when, just Renee and
Okay.
I. And we were working on Arlen Harris was his name. It was RV park. And we were putting in a septic system for an RV park and 600 feet of field line. I remember Renee dug up a buried deer. She's just sick because it stunk. But anyway, when we got finished, I saw my wife was really red hot. We were both worn out, and I came home and was kind of fussing to the guy that lives down the road. I'm like, "What am I supposed to do? we're both exhausted. And he goes, you need to hire or hire my neighbor. And he's got a cousin. They're looking for jobs. So I would tell you that the thing that changed the business the most was when I realized I could hire help. And
Mm-hmm.
then every time I've done that smartly, the business has jumped in sales.
Wow.
When you can have a good team or a good
Mm-hmm.
person to support you, then that's the biggest thing, because really there's only so much one person can do, and or
Mm-hmm.
two, so on and so
Yeah.
on.
So what does hiring smartly mean to you? What are some of the lessons you've learned over the years in hiring?
Hmm. They have to be able to speak in complete sentences and look me in the eye,
Mm-hmm.
be honest. I, I,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down in my sheet here while I was preparing for you. I have great employees, but all of the ones that are winners, or even just any of them, none of them have any wastewater training. No, no one has a class 2 wastewater operator license. No one is an installer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so those things, you look for somebody that wants to work.
Yeah.
It's not any harder than that. And then I used to hire and keep employees, just investing great amount of time and years waiting for them to click. I think here in the last 4 or 5 years, I've realized that sometimes you just have to say no. If if not working out, it's time to go,
Mm-hmm.
time to part ways. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, no, that's really good. What would you say is the most consistent way you actually find those people? Are you just putting things out in local Facebook groups, looking on job boards? Like, I know it's obviously changed in 30 years, so maybe go the last 5 years. What's
yeah.
the way that you guys find, or is it just referrals?
Well, most of the employees that I have came through employment. The company I use is Employment Solutions, where
Mm,
I detail out the job, I detail out what I want, and
mm,
they got to have a clean driving record, and they got to pass a drug test. And so it costs a fee to do that, but I
yeah,
don't have the time to do that. So I
yeah.
justify that. And then if for whatever reason they don't work out, which they were not work out, but we don't click, then
Hmm.
we find another one.
That's great.
But we tried doing our own with the ZipRecruiter and Link, and I'm not knocking those businesses, but the
Yeah.
quality of the candidates was just this surge of folks that, oh my gosh, that is not what I want working
Hmm.
for the company. So
Yeah.
I try and have somebody filter through the employees before they get to me, and I've had good
Hmm.
success with that.
That's good. Yeah, I love that too because you're not hiring out an HR person necessarily, or like a hiring manager. But you are paying, when you pay the fee, you're also like taking that job and giving it to somebody else. So it doesn't have to be you. Somebody who specializes in that, who
Uh-huh.
does that, that's their bread and butter. It's just can be really, I think for a lot of businesses, that can be a really successful. So can you say the name of the company that you use again? We'll make sure and link it in the show notes.
Yep, Employment Solutions.
Okay.
Carol Cross is the young lady that's helped me place at least a dozen employees over the years.
That's
So,
great. Yeah, that's really good feedback.
and we had this one spot here recently where we were getting employees that didn't match what we wanted, and so
Hmm.
my middle management was like, "We don't want to use them anymore. We want to do this." And I said, "Well, why don't we go talk to them and tell them what we want? Be more specific." And that was a really good meeting because they got to voice their like, don't send me this anymore. Don't send me that, but this is what we want. And they need to know they start out at $17 an hour. Don't send them here if they think they're going to make $25 an hour start.
Hmm.
And once we had that communication, it's been great.
That's great. That's a really good tip is don't just give up on the,
Yeah.
yeah, just have communication. I love what you said too about how you have a really specific set of, what they're going to be making, what the job description is. And I think that's really important when you're hiring is being
No.
really, really crystal clear on that job description and what success would look like for that person. I think the more I feel like when it comes to hiring, you just think about someone changing jobs from where they're at, if they're somewhere and they're thinking about going somewhere else, there's a lot of fear involved. Like if I leave my job and I go to work for this company, is it going to be terrible? Am I going to make a mistake? And so if they can have a really clear picture of what the day in, day out, what kind of what the company offers, it makes it less scary for them. I think you attract better talent basically, or better candidates when you give more clear instructions and a job description.
Yep. That was one of my work on the business, two years ago, was to actually write a for real job description for every position in the company. Whew, but I did it. And so,
Every position.
including mine.
Yeah. Was that a stop doing list for you?
Oh no, it wasn't too bad. It actually was pretty good for me because I felt like I was having to do everything, or not. I felt like it, but I was wearing too many hats. I mean,
Yeah.
so I defined my number of hats and then Renee's hats, and then it worked on down. And I don't know, it was a good exercise. It took a
Yeah,
while,
that's
but it was
great.
a good exercise.
Yeah. Well, and AI has come so far in the last couple years, even. And so, if someone wants to sit down and do that today, you can even just put it into your favorite AI platform and just list out what just pops out of your head, and then it will format it for you into some bullet points and something nice looking.
Hmm.
So that could help a little bit, a little cheat code there. So,
I agree.
yeah. Well, tell us, what is the hardest thing that you've ever had to face in business and how you overcame it?
Probably the hardest thing is, to work with somebody for 10 years and have to let them go.
Mm.
I don't like that part of my job.
Yeah.
Um, Probably the second hardest thing is, you know, dream it and it will come, but making financial mistakes, or not understanding cash flow, that's probably the second hardest thing. I lose more sleep over that the last few years than anything else.
Hmm.
Uh, mm, I don't know. Maybe sometimes where the business is going, maybe making decisions. Maybe we don't need to go get into the pumping business. Maybe
Yeah.
we don't need to go in the service business in this part of the state. Um, Stuff like that. You don't know how that's going to turn out. But
Yeah. Yeah. Those risks when you're the big picture guy.
mhm.
Yeah.
uh, but so far, or at least the last couple of years, it's gotten easier because I started asking for help versus
Mm.
just making the decisions on my own and suffering the consequences. So
Yeah.
that part is, I guess, when you ask for help, you have to actually listen. You can't, you can't still make that same choice, but
Right.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. That's really hard. So, what does asking for help look like? Has that been just bringing more people onto the team to help with specific things, or have you outsourced anything specific as far as like the cash flow and the budgeting and that kind of stuff? You talked about that was difficult. Anything you've outsourced, or specific ways that you like? How do you ask for help? What does that look like for you in recent years, or is it Renee?
Uh, no, I mean, yes, Renee's in that group now, but not the only person. Um, so I talked about the business growing for the last 30 years. Maybe, I don't know, as far back as I have data, I think is about 12 years, but it seems like it grows between 10 and 15% a
Mm.
year. But it kind of stopped. Can I talk about numbers, or should I probably not stop? Let's just say I plateaued at a certain number,
Okay.
and I realized that, why is it the same for the last 5 years? How come it's only this
Mm.
amount? And I realized because it was me, or I was micromanaging that much. That's all I could get out, was
Yeah,
that amount of revenue.
that's good.
So I read a couple of good books, listened to a couple of good podcasts, maybe got some outside sourcing, had the business valued. You learn a lot when you go and find out what your business is worth and what you're not doing right.
Yeah.
Um, and so put, I put in place, probably the middle of last year. I have an operations manager, I have a service manager, and I have an office manager, and then I have a design manager, which is Renee. So there's four of us. So now, when I need to make that decision about what do we do with this employee, we all four talk about it. It's not just me.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I use that more than, that's nice to have that group of people to help me.
Hmm.
I've got a good banker who will visit with me and carry on. I got a good CPA. That'd be good advice for whoever's starting out. No matter what it costs, get you a good CPA.
Yeah.
You need a lawyer, not
Yep.
because you're going to get in trouble, just to keep you out of trouble. I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I put $10,000 in the budget as a line item for the lawyer. So it's in the budget. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that I'm going to need to use it, but if I have a question about a contract, whether or not I should sign it, or I'm engaging someone, it's good to have that resource to keep you out of
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have a professional engineer now. I didn't have to hire them, but they work with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I can pay them to help me on the projects
Mm-hmm.
that I need their help on. So
Yeah. Something you said was really a lot of really great tips there. I mean, just if everyone could just write those 5 bullet points down and put them into place, you're going to have a different business. It was just, don't gloss over any of that. Very important. But something that you said is the valuation of the business and how that really opened your eyes. So I've had the honor of being a part of some companies, kind of their board meetings that they do on a regular basis and going through the valuation process. So it's been really interesting to watch that from kind of like a CMO perspective.
Mhm.
And I think what's really interesting is the more that a business is dependent upon its owner, the lower the valuation is. Because if that owner like leaves or something happens to them and the business would dissolve, you don't really have a business worth selling. And
Yep.
so when you start to create a business that can live on without you, number one, it gives you, like you said, that quality of life that, we're all looking for as business owners, but then it also makes your company more valuable. So even if you're not going to sell your company, it's a really good process to go through, just to get your business healthy and give you more peace of mind and a better life, a more well-run business.
Yep. Yep. 10 years ago, I didn't have enough sales to have those kind of level of management. But yeah, I mean, the hardest thing, you asked me about the hardest thing. The hardest thing is to be responsible for the growth of the business and keeping it going for 27 years, 28 years. And then somebody says, you need to back away and let us make our own choices. If you hire us, you need to leave us alone and let us handle it. And
Yeah.
that's probably, within the last year, one of the hardest things for me is to let let the managers that I put in place, let them make a decision. And you know what? If they make a decision and it affects the company badly, or not badly is not a right word, poorly, then I support them, and then we learn not to do that again.
Mm.
Because the chances are that it's pretty slim they're going to make that choice. They're probably going to make a dozen good choices
Yeah.
that don't have anything to do with me being involved. Hence, the business can run if I decide to go to a trade show,
Mm.
or I decide to take a vacation and go to the beach, which I can't wait to do. When I come back, the business did not stop. So I did make it to that point.
Yeah. That's great. And I think just taking, for people who don't have as large of a team and don't have, tiered management, I think even taking your next hire, like, you kind of know your pain point. Maybe it's you and one other guy, and you really want someone who's going to do the pumping, or you want someone who's going to take over the installs. You just kind of want to take one service line and move it off. And that's your pain point. I think before you hire, it starts by documenting everything that you do and making it to a system that you can pass off to someone. So even if you're not in David's situation with his business where he's able to delegate to the level that he is, I think it's still very possible to delegate. Just then, what's the next thing you're going to delegate? And I think something that's really neat about it being 2026 is that we have so many great softwares available, and even we have subject companies that are implementing using AI into their operations, their daily operations. I have another podcast about that with VSE Septic, and they talked about how they're utilizing AI. So there's some ways that you can, get that CRM that's going to help you, so that way it's not all in your head or it's not all on paper, and you can walk away, or you can get sick, or sometimes, God forbid, be hospitalized, and everything isn't just in your brain, you're putting it on paper. So I think there's some things you can do, even if you're not at David's level, to help delegate. So,
I agree. I wasn't nervous a little bit about the AI,
yeah.
but once I saw it proof an email and take my weird jargon and put it, professionally with periods in the right place, or I saw it polish a report. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just giving me back hours of my day, to be
Yeah.
honest. So,
Yeah. And that's really the point of it is to just give us back some of our ability to enjoy life a little bit more. Um,
mhm.
I have a AI that I really like called Whisper Flow, and I can just push a button and talk, and it will write the whole email for me, and then it formats it and proofs it, which is really neat. So it's still my words, but it has made that email. I mean, even just emailing, if you can get Whisper Flow, I think I pay $14 a month for it. Your office staff, anyone who has to email, that's a great way to just make their lives a little bit easier.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fun one. So, what is kind of one habit that you've put in place in your day to day? I know you've talked a lot about stepping back from the business more and kind of owning your role as CEO. But what's one habit or system you put in place so you can actually focus on growing the business rather than just working for the business? So maybe that's now, or maybe that was even 15, 20 years ago. What kind of habits helps you really step back from the day to day?
Yep. So I've taken this one thing that I do. It's just been weekly, and there was a moment last month. It might have been in June. I think this is just about to be August, but I don't know. It was too much. I had too much, and so I usually download my week on Saturday mornings. That's just my time to go get a cup of coffee, sit in my favorite diner, and review my calls, texts, and emails, and see what business is laying in there that
Mm,
I need to delegate out. Well, here last 2 weeks I've been doing it daily, not like going to the coffee shop, but I've just been purposefully looking at what I'm doing. So that's one habit I'm trying to implement because what wakes me up at night, it's not about the whole sleep thing, but just there's so much that comes through the phone, my phone.
mm,
I have to get that out sooner than 1 week. So I'm trying to delegate that stuff
yeah.
to my admin and to my chiefs
Mm,
as much as I can. So I would advise somebody in my situation or about to get in that situation is just have a way to download your workflow, what's ever in your head or your calls. The phones are great, but they're also a curse because I don't even know. Sometimes I think I should put it in a safe with a code that just won't come open for 12 hours or so. Well,
yeah.
I can't do that, but it's just tough.
Yeah.
And then working on the business, like where we're going, big picture thing, it usually takes me a long weekend away, or I
Hmm.
can't really focus on that stuff here. I'm at my desk. I can't,
Yeah.
it's just hard. But if I take a trip or take a hike or spend a weekend in Hot Springs or something different, you'll find me at breakfast or late in the evening watching the stars or something just away from the grind to actually think, where are we going? Where do we want to go? What do I want to accomplish this next
Hmm.
year? What's working, what's not. So I
That's
don't know
great
if I answered your
advice.
question correctly, but I guess it's that you got to systematically set aside time
Mm,
to keep it going.
yeah. That's really great advice. I love too how you said you remove yourself physically, how that makes a big difference.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite place right now to go during the day, if it's just been nuts, is we've got a Top Golf at the end of my road, and I like golfing, but the bar at the Top Golf has the most beautiful view of West
Mm,
Little Rock, and the bartender and I are friends. Her husband owns a business. She knows exactly what I'm going through when I'm up there, trying to do quotes or just get away. She tends to me. So anyway, that's my secret spot down the road. That's 10 minutes away.
that's awesome.
Top Golf.
Speaking of Top Golf, I saw a post that you all had taken the team, or maybe it was just the leadership team, maybe it wasn't
Yeah.
everybody, but to Top Golf and had a lot of fun. Is that something you do regularly as kind of outings with the team or a couple times a year?
Yep. Yep. We used to do monthly meetings, then we used to do quarterly meetings, and then we did twice a year meetings, and then I did annual meetings. And I got tired. So that Top Golf was last year. That was just me saying thanks. I
Yeah,
invited, everyone in the company, but those are the folks that showed up. And
that's
yeah, we had a
great.
good time.
That's great.
Uh,
I love that.
that's their time away too, when they
Mhm.
might get to ponder about work. Not, we
Mm,
weren't there to work, but I mean,
yeah.
those ideas come out at those kind of events,
Mm.
not in the morning at 7 o'clock when everybody's trying to get going.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good. Well, as we wrap up, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself if you were to go back to David 25, 30 years ago and give yourself some advice? What
Hmm.
would have told yourself?
I got some advice from a banker probably 10 years into it. He quizzed me one day on what my profit and loss sheet looked like. And I'm not asking everybody in business to be an accounting nerd. That's not it. But I didn't know the answer. And here I was running $1 million business and I didn't know what my profit and loss sheet looked like. So
Yeah.
I probably would have educated myself early on, hey, dum dum, figure out where the money goes, figure out if you're making any money. I would have liked that earlier
Mm,
than 10 years into the business. Um, hmm,
yeah.
maybe save a little bit more time for family and friends.
Mm.
And that stupid thing I get all the time, what's my hobby? I don't have a hobby, I work, but probably should have had a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard for a business owner to turn that part of their brain off.
Hmm.
It's difficult for sure. But you have
But
golfing, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
But the on-site business is needed, and if I don't know, I know about Arkansas. Arkansas is pretty much a rural state,
hmm.
and I guess Texas would be too. You're gonna have most of your population in the bigger cities,
Yeah,
but you have a lot of your state that's not connected to public sewer.
exactly.
So, and you have some challenging soils over there as well. So,
Yeah, you do.
I don't know. It's a good profession to be in. I was a plumber's apprentice for between my freshman and sophomore year in college, and it was hard work, $3 an hour.
Wow.
Golly, it was hard. But I went back to college that fall with a new perspective on life and
Mm.
swore I'd never glue any PVC or crawl under a house or dig a ditch. And then yet that's what I do for a living now. So just I don't know. It's not a bad business to be in.
Yeah.
I remember during COVID that was kind of weird, but we were considered essential. So we had employees that, of course, wouldn't come to work. They were afraid somebody was going to cough on them,
Mm,
but we stayed busy even through something as drastic as COVID. So,
yeah. Yeah. That's great.
and then what's what's the other thing? Let's see. Being a designer is pretty cool. I like it. Being an installer, I mean, we have 150 designers licensed in the state. We have 1,000 installers licensed in the state. So
Interesting.
everybody thinks they can be an installer, but not many folks want to be a designer. So I would
Yeah.
encourage anyone to be a designer because it's not that bad. And then very few people are doing the service work.
Mm,
What is service? Who wants to do that? I didn't get much support from my my peers or the business when we decided to jump in the service business, and that's really the only part of the business that we've created that has any value if I want to sell the business
interesting.
is the recurring revenue off of taking care of
Hmm.
on-site wastewater systems around the
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Because my design work goes with me. I can't sell that. And then 1,000 installers. There's plenty of installers. Anybody
Yeah.
can go buy a track hole.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would just tell your listeners that the service business isn't a bad gig.
Mm,
When it's raining or snowing or the economy turns down, people still need their effluent filters cleaned. People still need their tanks pumped. People still need their aerators checked. And it's pretty good niche to be in.
yeah. It's that recurring revenue too that I think can really help stabilize a business a whole
Hmm.
lot rather than just the one and done that happens with designing and installing.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to ask me. Uh, residential work versus commercial work.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I got to get that in there because that was a lot of
Yeah.
learning on that one. Residential work, that means designing a septic system and installing one for a homeowner. That is easy. Not easy is the wrong word. That's a simple transaction. You do the work, you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Built the business on that. Neat. But then you always had that commercial stuff on the outside. It's like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice too? Okay, well, I jumped into that. And that does not operate like a residential business or a residential installation. So to your listeners, just be wary when you jump into the commercial. You need to fully understand how you're going to get paid. And if it's going to get long and drawn out, no big deal. Everyone else is going to get long drawn out on getting paid, but price your job accordingly where you can capture that financing cost. I learned that the hard way. Just because I'm a good guy and do good work does not get that paycheck any faster.
Wow. So is it like net 90? Is that
Yeah.
pretty common?
Yeah, just go to work for a, can't say names, but yes, it's it's nice to have $100,000 receivable on the books, but it's really hard to wait 90 days for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So price accordingly. That's great.
That's my words of wisdom on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Take that to the bank. That's good. Good wisdom right there.
Yeah. Understand where the money's going to come from.
Yeah. Well, David, this has been so helpful and insightful. And I just know that this is going to be just a blessing to everyone who listens and all the things that I know there's so many guys who wish that they could just sit down with someone who's been in the business 30 years, pick his brain, hear all the hard lessons, the wisdom. And so really appreciate you taking your time. I know you're really busy, like all of the other septic owners are, but you took the time with us. And so we just appreciate you. Thank you for being on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.